Hey everyone, welcome back to Today in Tech. I'm Juliette Beauchamp. I'm here with Computer World Executive Editor Ken Minkus and Macworld's Michael Simon. We're going to be discussing Apple's rumored AR glasses. What are they? Who's going to use them? Stick around. All right, guys, thank you so much both for calling in and chatting. And I mean, I already said it. What are these rumored AR glasses?
Well, first of all, they're going to be called Apple Glass, right, Michael?
Well, I mean, if you want to believe the rumor, that was actually.
I want to believe. I do.
I mean, I what was purported. I want to believe the name is weird because Google had their Google Glass. It was called Google Glass. Would Apple really come out with Apple Glass? That said, it does fit its recent naming scheme, which Apple Watch, Apple TV, like this is how it's moving. We don't do I anymore at Apple. The iPad was the last, I think that was the last one, the last product to have that I name. But they're not going to get rid of iPhone and iPad, iMac. Those are staples. But going forward, we're not going to see another I product. So it will be Apple something. So it's either going to be Apple Glass, Apple Glasses, Apple Spectacles. I doubt they would do that.
Oh no,
that's a little too highbrow.
That's right up there with the Apple monocle. That's not. They're not going to be called spectacles. I don't think.
I think the Snapchat ones were the Snapchat spectacles, right?
They were. Yep. That's yeah. And we all know how well those sold.
Right.
People wanted them for like 3 days, and then you never heard of them ever again. This is not going to be that. If Apple does release this product, it will be along the lines of Apple Watch and AirPods, something that will transform the landscape. The question is, are we ready to accept that transformation? I mean, this is a big step.
Oh, go ahead, Juliette.
I was wondering the same thing. It seems like, and I think so is the case so often when Apple releases a product, you hear, okay, Apple Glass, is anyone really going to wear AR glasses? And then they come out and yes, of course, like the Apple Watch.
Right. There were, Apple Watch, but there were other watches on the scene. There were other smart watches there. Samsung had them. Pebble, of course, was the first. It was the company who really kickstarted all that, literally and figuratively. But this project that's rumored, and we'll get into what it is in a few minutes, it's brand new. I mean, we've never seen anything like what is being rumored that Apple is working on.
Yeah, I was just going to jump in and say real quick to Juliette's point earlier about whether or not people would buy Apple Glass or whatever it's called or would use them. I mean, to Apple's credit, and and it's something that gives it a leg up. It's got a ready-made ecosystem ready to try these things. A lot of enthusiastic users. I think the early speculation is that this would be tied to an iPhone, the same way that the Apple Watch was tied to the iPhone initially. And I think there'll be a lot of people that will try it, and I think Apple will probably evolve these things over a generation or two, as it did with the Apple Watch, depending on how people use them. Whether it's in a more enterprisey environment for like training or frontline workers, things like that, or whether it turns out to be more of a consumer play. A lot of it's going to depend on, again, that connection to, do you have to have an iPhone, and on price. I mean, we should also note we're basing all of this on speculation and rumors from people who should be in the know, but it's never really official until it's official, right, Michael?
Yeah, I mean, we've heard about this project for a couple of years now, so it's clear that Apple is working on something. Whether or not it ever sees the light of day is another question, because they work on things. Remember when we were ready for the Apple Car like 3 years ago? Like Tim Cook was going to drive it on the stage when the iPhone 10 or 11 came out. So, these things are rumored and these things are definitely being worked on. The Apple Glasses project, however, is, in my mind, the most logical step for everything that Apple has been doing over the last couple of years. It brings together wearables, AirPods, Apple Watch, iPhone becoming like a real kind of powerful hub of your life. And of course, the AR stuff, which took a huge leap in the last couple of years, most recently with the iPad getting that LiDAR sensor. And it's able to really kind of map indoor and outdoor, like almost to like, millimeter precision. And that's what you need if you're going to be putting on a pair of glasses that puts an overlay in front of you, which is what these things would be. they need to work. Like, you know, if your Apple Watch is like the first generation Apple Watch, I don't think you had one, which might have been the first. Was
I
that the
did.
first Apple? Oh, you did.
I
Okay,
did. Of course I did.
but you don't have one anymore, which is weird.
No, no.
So anyway, the first Apple Watch, as you know, was slow, clunky, somewhat unintuitive, but it was good.
Yeah.
However, it was on your wrist. You didn't have to use it all day long. So you could deal with, you know, apps that took a little while to load and things that didn't work properly. If you're strapping on a pair of glasses and you have an overlay in front of your face, you see that all the time. And this thing has to be rock solid. Because if it's buggy, people are not going to use them. It's going to be a joke. So
yeah, I mean, it's also, I mean, literally a safety issue. I mean, this is, you know, in your field of vision. And I mean, obviously, if you're wearing these things and the overlay starts to pixelate or something goes wrong or you're following directions or it just goes blank, not a big deal. Maybe if you're sitting at a desk, but if you're driving down the highway at 60 or 70 miles an hour, trying to follow directions from Apple Maps, or maybe asking Siri for directions to beam them to your eyeglasses, and that doesn't work. I mean, shocking that it might be, you know, then these things are not going to work. It's not going to, you know, it'll fail.
That's an interesting thought because the car now, your phone has a mode where it shuts off. Do not disturb while driving. Like you have to use CarPlay or nothing. So maybe Apple would shut it down for safety reasons while you're driving. So, you know, while it develops this system. On the other hand, heads-up displays on cars are a thing. So, you know, it's like higher end cars, BMWs, Lexuses, I think Lexus, but I know BMW for sure has it. You know, so car manufacturers are experimenting with this thing because it does keep your eyes straight while adding things that distract you. So there's a lot to figure out here. And Apple has it's a long road, and it's going to be a bumpy and rough road, mostly because no one else has done it. These don't exist. AR glasses of this caliber. This is it would be Apple's foray into something brand new. Smartphones existed. Tablets existed. Watches existed. I mean, personal computers existed. Apple isn't usually on the bleeding edge quite like this. So if this does come out in the next 6 to 12 months, they're going to be the innovators, which, you know, they do, but they're also going to be at the front of the pack. And there's no one that I can see. You know, you have Magic Leap, that's a backpack and $3,000. You have HoloLens, that's $3,500 and is marketed to, like, you know, frontline workers and construction projects. This will be a consumer application, really bringing AR to the masses in a way that it hasn't been done at any level.
Yeah, you know, I would quibble just a tad with that, only in the sense that I think you're right in terms of a mass-produced product that would ideally be geared toward a wide range of uses, not just a specific, you know, for developers to play with, like Google Glass, or you know, a completely augmented reality experience. But I mean, there has been a lot of churn over the years, the last 5, 6, 7 years, starting with Google Glass, and you know, you've got HoloLens out there. You've got, as you said, Magic Leap. There's been a lot of experimenting that I think Apple can learn from before it rolls out its take on it. So it may be that it learns what not to do before it, you know, gets this. We'll see. You know, I am sort of surprised that I think the rumors are, as you said, 6 to 12 months, maybe even being announced this fall, and perhaps
the
out
rumor
next
that
year.
I read, that everybody read, it's from a guy named John Prosser, who has a YouTube channel called Front Page Tech, and he wasn't an Apple rumors guy until this year, but he nailed the date of the iPad, the date of the iPhone SE, bunch of specs on the iPhone 12 that seem to be corroborated now. So he has sources that know what they're talking about. So when he posted this video, everybody went crazy and everybody reported on it because it wasn't just some crazy guy spouting off some stuff. He has sources, whether or not these sources are accurate. And he also couches all this by saying, listen, what I saw might not be the final product, but this is what they're working towards. Now, the question in all of this is, you know, you bring up, you know, HoloLens and all that stuff. I've tried HoloLens. It's not a consumer product, but it's also not this. So the way he described it, the way Prosser described it, is you would put on a pair of glasses, much like these, and it would kind of light up the world around you. It wouldn't put a screen in front of your face. You would still look at a building, but it would show you a menu if it was a restaurant, or movie listings, or whatever have you in front of you, directions, things like this. And it would kind of like map the world around you. And you can shut it off if you don't want it. You can use gestures to move things around, but you would just be walking around, and these things would present themselves to you, landmarks, points of interest, stuff like that. And I mean, HoloLens, you need specific applications that it does. This would just be running an app on your phone, and it would beam this stuff to your, and kind of like augment your reality, which is what this dream has been for a while now. Mm-hmm. A true augmented reality device.
The question I have is just real quick. One question that before we leave this, gestures. You've got the glasses on. Okay,
yeah,
we'll put the glasses on, and I'm seeing something here, and I'm doing like this while I'm walking down the street. I remember when people first started talking to their phones or talking to their watches or whatever, and that looked kind of bizarre. Mm-hmm. You think that's really going to work?
I mean, who knows? This it's the $1 million question. I still don't use Siri in public. It's not something that I want to do, and some people do. I see some people talking on a phone like this. We'll see. We'll see how it works out. The bigger question is, what's the baseline here? Like, how many people need to use it for it to be something that we're all comfortable with?
That's exactly the question that I'm wondering too. I think for something, and Mike, I think you mentioned this, like people were wearing watches before the Apple Watch. So switching over, while it may be, slightly different, is still a pretty common thing. Yeah. And even though plenty of people wear glasses, they aren't wearing AR glasses. So I'm wondering,
they aren't wearing the same glasses.
That's also a really good point. Yeah, I think, there definitely can't be sort of a one style. I'm sure that would not fly. But I'm wondering a little bit about, first of all, who and how the adoption of this is going to go. I mean, for me, I've used VR headsets before. I've never used an AR headset, but this whole idea of having stuff in front of me while I have my glasses on, the thought of it is kind of giving me a headache. And second of all, I'm wondering you mentioned it a little bit, Mike, you look at a restaurant and there's a menu, you look at a movie theater and there's movie listings. Are there going to be apps here? I just am wondering what these features are going to be.
It's a good question, and we don't know what the AR, as of now, AR applications are little kind of somewhat handy tools. You can use IKEA to put a couch in your living room, or you can measure stuff. The dream of AR is to be able to look at a sign in another language and have it translate. To look at a movie poster and buy a ticket without going through a menu, to really kind of bring the computing experience to just real life, where you look at something and it comes to life. That's not going to happen in the first generation, but that's the point of why these glasses would exist, was so all the little things that we do on our iPhone all day long, 60% of those things or 80% of those things are boiled down to look at this thing and have something happen to it.
I wonder if they'd be able to use like eye tracking, if you're say you've got the glasses with a menu that's showing you something, and to use cases, it could be something like frontline workers with instructions on how to do something out in the field, or some sort of training document, or, so that you're learning about whatever your job or task at hand is, if you're thinking about sort of enterprise uses. But I just wonder, given the ability to track eye movements, whether you might be able to just sort of look at a spot, on the Apple Glass lens, and that would be how you select whatever task or whatever you want done with them.
Yeah, I mean, I think that would absolutely have to happen. Like it would have to go from this to just looking and blinking or whatever you would have to do. And Apple already does some minimal eye tracking with FaceTime and Animoji and stuff like that. So the technology is being developed, and it just needs to all be put together into a package that A, people want to wear, B, isn't too expensive, and C, does something that solves a problem that we didn't know we have.
Right.
I'm wondering, and Ken, I'm sure that you will have some insight on this. What are the enterprise use cases for something like this? I think consumer, you think, it's for the consumer application, I'm thinking, it's an Apple Watch. If people want them, they'll definitely get them. And probably once maybe the second or third generation rolls around, people are probably going to be, it's a new Apple product, right? People are going to be heavily invested. But in enterprise use, I'm wondering, you make some suggestions towards, a frontline worker or someone out in the field. What does that look like?
Well, yeah, because I've been trying to think about this. These types of devices, at least the way they've evolved over the last, well, since the iPhone, is they tend to start out as a consumer-y kind of play, and then people start bringing them to work and using them in ways that, maybe help them with their jobs. If you're an office worker and you need to dig up some information real quick and you can figure out if there's a way to do that with glasses and you're sitting in front of a computer, you'd have to figure out, is it faster to do it using Apple Glass than it would be just to root through a database or, an email? I do think it's going to be a limited number of uses for now. I could see, again, training, maybe education. If you're in a classroom and you've got students looking at something and then they could have the glasses, which could be providing more information to them. I do think for frontline workers, since obviously this is sort of a mobile thing, it's going to be tied to your iPhone, which I presume does most of the processing for whatever you're, looking at.
Certainly at the start,
it's not really an enterprise use, but it's a business use. Truck drivers, Uber drivers. You just think of people who would need to have information in front of them, again, sort of on the go and mobile, or in places where they can't dig through a library or, get a computer out and do something. A lot of it's going to depend on if there are apps, if there are other features, if at some point these things can be separated from an iPhone so that they work on their own. That would also give them, I think, some broader reach than just tying it to the Apple ecosystem. I don't know, Michael, you think of anything else enterprisey that I might have missed?
I think the big thing here is that there's so many applications that we haven't thought of. There was a time when the iPhone or any smartphone wasn't really an enterprise thing either. And, as they developed, as apps were as they became more powerful, they became a part of our lives in the sense that our PCs now are secondary. I can do most of my work. I can do a whole day's work on my iPhone if I have to. So I think that, there are probably dozens of applications that we haven't even thought of. Restaurant menus are probably like, that's going to at some point seem like those iBeer apps back in the day when you used to tilt your phone and see the liquid change. Like, it's going to be like, that's just rudimentary. Yeah. Like there's a whole world of application here. Like, look at, to bring it to a cultural level, look at like Iron Man when he puts on his helmet. He everything around him is enhanced. You look at a person and you get information about them. You look at a building and it maps it out and 3D maps it, and you can see what's inside of it, how many floors. There are a million ways that this could be completely applicable to businesses, to people, to kids, to whoever. And, the first generation is not going to do that. It's going to be a very expensive thing that does a couple of things and people ooh and ah over. In 3 years, assuming these, are coming out soon, by 2025, they could be what we use most of the day to kind of, or it could be how we perceive our reality going forward.
Yeah, I also wonder too, don't you think that these have potential entertainment value?
Of course,
suppose you could, if you think about going to the movie and you've got a huge screen that's 50 feet in front of you, a small screen an inch in front of your eyes could be pretty immersive for like content consumption if you want to get into that.
VR, those VR goggles do it. You can like put this, it's so close to your face where it looks like you're in a scene. And sure. I don't think that's the first use case for it. I don't think Apple's going
No,
to
no.
necessarily market it as an entertainment device. I think it's more of a utilitarian device. But yeah, sure. There's a lot of games. Like you'd imagine walking around the world and Mario's running through the streets or something like that. Like, there's tons of stuff that you could do
Yeah,
if it's done
or even
right.
while you're driving down the highway at 80 miles an hour, and
And look
Mario's
at
running down the
Pokemon
street.
Go.
What could go wrong?
That Pokemon Go game was a sensation because it took what was in your Nintendo 3DS and brought it into the real world on a very, very rudimentary level. You held up your phone and you saw your background and a little Pikachu was running around. Imagine that, but on like a scale where you don't even notice that there's anything between you and the digital and the real world.
I'm very excited. I really hope that this actually turns out to be true.
You've already put
I
down
know.
the deposit.
I'm ready to buy. Where do I put my money down? I'm ready to go. Well, I've always, I've said this for many years. If you could figure out some way to jack the internet directly into my brain so that I had ready access to any fact at any time, anywhere, I would like that. This may be the closest we'll get to it for a while.
My biggest stumbling block is, when I buy glasses, it's not a easy purchase. I look at lots of them. I make sure that they're unique, that they fit me well, that it's a process. I don't know if I want to be wearing the same glasses as everybody else. No offense to you guys.
Fair enough, but we got different styles. It's okay.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah.
They
So
can't
if
just
they come out with
offer-
one or two, maybe. Like the Apple Watch, there's a couple different varieties, but everyone you wearing the same. Well, this isn't one, but you're wearing the same watch as everybody else. It's a square watch with a different color band. That's So what would they have to do to make these glasses unique enough to, to have different to not look at someone and say, oh, those are Apple glasses. Apple glass, sorry.
Yeah, like changeable frames, maybe.
Maybe, yeah.
Yeah, like my band, I can change my band around. I can change my frames, pop out the
arms
lenses.
of it. Yeah.
You could have tortoiseshell versus clear versus black versus classic 50s look versus wireframe versus think of the customization options.
Yeah, well, but are they going to do all that? Is it probably not at the start.
No.
But going forward, would they have 20 different styles of Apple Glass? I don't know.
Right.
The other thing is
depends on
what
the
the prescription thing, because I wear a prescription and you two both do as well, and so you first of all you have to put the prescription into it, which costs money. Secondly, you got to convince someone who wears contacts that now you're going to be wearing glasses again.
That's me. Yeah, exactly.
Me too.
Yeah.
Well,
I actually.
Or maybe they make
maybe
they make an Apple contact.
there you go, directly into the eye.
Yeah.
I think that might
We're
be
getting
where I
into
draw
Black
the
Mirror.
line.
This is Black Mirror territory now.
If they could put it into a glass, 10 years from now, I'm sure they can shrink it down and just pop it in your eye.
Oh.
The eye.
Oh.
Okay.
Well, 6 to 12 months, we'll wait and see on the Apple glasses and the Apple contacts. Yeah, maybe that's a 10-year plan for them. Well, thank you guys so much for calling in, chatting all things Apple Glass. Yeah, Apple Glass, it can't be the eyeglass. That's too easy.
No, yeah, I don't think they would go there again.
The monocle,
Steve
Apple
Jobs
monocle.
would have done that and somehow made it cool. I don't think Tim Cook could do that. It would be the butt of jokes forever.
Stick to the basics.
All right, well, thank you guys so much. And thank you all so much for watching this episode of Today in Tech. If you liked this video, be sure to give it a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel. If you hit the notification bell, you'll be notified every time we post a new video. If you have any thoughts, comments, questions about the Apple glasses, would you wear these? Would you buy the first generation? Let me know in the comments below. Thanks again for watching, and we'll see you next time.